if we pour more into getting people better, then the scores are going to come.
Mm.
But I know politically
Yeah.
that is not a superintendent doesn't have time. Superintendents have sprints, they don't have marathons. And so, if a superintendent, one of the goals as soon as they accept the job is increasing academic achievement. Well, we know that. And oftentimes, if it doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years, which you and I know that that is not sanely possible.
All right, everyone, we're super excited to have one of my heroes, my mentors in the K-12 space on the My K12 Career Show to share their story, their journey with you guys. And I'm just super grateful that Dr. Ralph Simpson from the great state of Georgia and Clayton County Schools, where he is a deputy superintendent, is on our show today. And so he's just going to share some golden nuggets with you guys. Full disclosure, I had the opportunity to work for Dr. Simpson back in the early 2000s when he was starting a brand new school. And he had this motto, like, we're going to hire the best of the best. And I didn't think I was going to get hired when I heard that. And I was super grateful that he had me on his team. And I've always said that that staff that I worked with when I was with Dr. Simpson was the greatest staff I'd ever worked with. To date, of all the people that I still keep in contact with, there were so many teachers that ended up becoming assistant principals, district level leaders. And it's just amazing. And all of it was because of this great man that we have on the show today. And I'm just very grateful and humbled that he accepted my invitation to be on the show. So Dr. Simpson, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you just kind of share briefly what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Yeah, man, just this is year 35, going into year 36, I think, for me. It's interesting. I said to someone, just yesterday, we spend the summers getting ready to open schools, and people get excited, and feel, almost like pressure and stress.
Yeah.
And my question when we were in the meeting, and my question to them was, how many years have you opened schools?
Yeah.
It's nothing new or different about opening the school
That's
or
true.
starting the school year,
Yeah.
particularly at this level. And
Yeah.
and so it becomes another day.
Yeah.
And so, as I approach year 36, you know, certainly, with whatever challenges that exist, the goal is to always improve,
Yeah.
improve on efficiency, uh, improve on effectiveness,
Yeah.
continuing to just do your best to maintain what it is that you've been successful with and try to duplicate that success. What worked last year, years before, yes, you want to continue to build on that. And so, I've always believed, and you've probably heard this before, I support those who support children.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
to make sure that every teacher has all of what they need and the resources so that they can provide the optimum level of education and teaching and learning experience for children.
Yeah.
And thusly with the assistant principals and principals.
Yeah.
And so ultimately is my goal. I step down so they can step up. And that's the role that I play. I don't want to be heard. I don't want to be seen. I just want to make it happen for those that are really touching children, because those are the people that are making the most difference. And so as long as I can do that, then I can walk away every day saying it was a good day,
Awesome.
and that's everyone from the bus drivers, from the cafeteria workers to the custodians, the people that mean the most to me, in terms of the impact with what we do, that we have to continue to reward and appreciate those and acknowledge those that deliver these babies to us every day, because without them, then there would be no role for us.
Yeah.
We wouldn't exist without the bus drivers.
That's
We
true.
wouldn't exist without those nutritionists of the cafeteria workers who are providing those hot breakfasts and lunches for our students. And so we can't forget that importance and their impact. And so for those that do, I remind them of that role
Yeah.
continuously, frequently, so that, you can always recall on the fact of why we're here.
That's awesome. Doc, you said 36 years?
This will be 36. Yes, sir.
Did you start at 10? Like, how is that possible, Doc? You looking great, man.
It is, I've been back in 1991. I started out, working out with my best friends.
Okay.
They were all former athletes in high school. Some of them played college ball a little bit, but I didn't. Of course, I wasn't a high school athlete, but I went along just to be with the crew.
Yeah.
But it became a way of life.
Okay.
And it's something that I've continued ever since, that's been getting up in the morning at 4 o'clock and going to working out. So I've been doing this since 1991. And so, along with that, over the years, just being mindful of, exercise is one thing, but, you have to eat right. Your diet and exercise has to be, has to work hand in hand. And so, once I figured things out and saw the things that would be the work best that enhance, the way I'm able to perform and, sustain my energy throughout the day and throughout the days, then, obviously, if you want to get better, then, you continue to reinvent yourself. And that's what I've done both physically and mentally. I've just been able to reinvent myself over the years.
Wow, Doc, you look really good, man. And I appreciate you sharing that, man, because, there's been a real big emphasis with the pandemic and everything on mental health, and just taking care of yourself and all that. But it seems like that's a way of life for you. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Absolutely. And also, I'm a big believer that, as leaders, if we come in every day with our cup half full, how can we pour into other people?
Absolutely. When you show a level of commitment and taking care of yourself, that sends a message to anyone that you supervise.
That's real.
Because if you don't take care of self, that also sends, in my opinion, an equal and opposite message. Right. And so you have to start with self. People look to you as the leader, the supervisor for a lot of different things other than just supervising them. Yeah. If the way in which you have, how you maintain that mental, physical stability is viewed as being positive and successful, and they see a way in which it enhances and improves the way in which you go about performing your duties and responsibilities, then that can't help but resonate and spread amongst those, in that same working environment. And so it's more than just modeling leadership and supervision. It is how you live. It is how you live your life. All of that is a part of it.
No, you're right, Doc. And I'll be honest, full disclosure, you had a huge impact on me. I don't know if you remember, man, I was a good 80 pounds heavier than what you see right now.
I remember.
You know what I mean? And
I remember.
It's just amazing because I remember when I met you and I was like, this has got to be the sharpest brother in education that I've ever seen. I'm serious, man. I mean, you were always dressed to the nines and it just had such an impact on me. And it was like, I got to get myself together, man. And so I would hope that, with what I've done with my own health, that is resonating with some young brother that's looking at me, that's an educator and saying, hey, Doc, he's coming in, he's dressed to the nines, he's looking the part, he's taking care of himself. I don't get up at 4 o'clock, Doc. I'm just going to be honest, but I try to get up around 5:30 and get that work.
That's right. It's funny. I see former students and they say, man, you still look the same. And I'm like, man, I don't look the same, but and so you get the question, well, hey man, what are you doing? And I said, well, if I tell you what I'm doing, would you be willing to do it? So, that's what people ask all the time, what are you doing? They find out, I'm about to be 60 years old. It's like, dude, you see, what do you do? And so that's always my question. If I tell you what I do and what I'm doing, would you be willing to do it? And oftentimes when I share it, it's like, no, I don't think I can do that. And so, you got to pour into that temple, man. You got to invest in yourself. And that's all it is. It's just an investment in self. So, that's just the way I live it, man.
No, that's what's up, man. That's really cool. So you've been in this 36 years. I mean, was this something that you always wanted to do? I mean, did you grow up wanting to be a K-12 educator?
I did not, and I didn't. I was, if you can recall, I started out in corrections, working in the penal system. And so that was a life-altering experience that led me to education. It helped for me to define what I want to either be a part of the problem or part of the solution.
Yeah.
As I often tell people, I coined it as going from the back door of the jailhouse to the front door of the schoolhouse. And so
Woo.
it was very difficult for me to be in a position as I welcomed or received prisoners from police officers, to make a difference at that point. At the back door of the jailhouse, there's not much I could do. And so
Sure.
once I was able to define that I was wanting to be a part of the solution, I thought in my mind, well, how can I best be a part of the solution? And then I started to grapple back and forth about where and, how can I play a significant role and have an impact? And, I grappled back and forth over and over about being a teacher because I didn't have my K-12 experience was fun.
Okay.
But it wasn't, it wasn't filled with academic achievement and academic success. I mean,
Right.
I was a social butterfly. And so,
Yeah.
I enjoyed going to school because, that's where my friends or my peers were.
Yeah.
And so when I thought about becoming a teacher, I thought about the type of teacher that I wanted and felt like I did not have. I wanted a teacher that would give me just as much attention and time with my C's as they gave as much time and attention to those students with their A's. And so I decided that, I'd give it a try. I'd become that teacher. And so I created that teacher.
Wow.
The teacher that I felt like I needed was the type of teacher that I created because I believe that there were children out there like me that still needed that type of teacher.
Absolutely.
And so that was the one that I became. And
awesome.
I honestly went into education thinking that I would be in the classroom for 30 years because my goal was to be a teacher. I was enjoying it. I was loving it. I was reaching and touching children, starting out teaching 5th grade. And I did not foresee anything relevant to leadership. That was not even in the plans. I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even see myself in that regard. And, I had a conversation with my principal one day and he said, young man, in probably about 7 to 10 years, man, principals are going to be making $100,000. And I was like, really? I was like, wow. And he said that. I was like, okay, well, I mean, good. I just it didn't dawn upon me. And then it's funny thing, Lean on Me is one of my favorite movies. And I was, I was inspired by not the whole discipline, stature that Joe Clark had. It was the love, the tough love that he displayed and the love and admiration and respect that he received.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, I think they misunderstood or misunderstand that movie and the theme of that movie. It was love, tough, and then love. And that's what's most important, for people to understand that, with the toughness he showed, that language or that love language, as we quantify today, I'm creating this type of a culture and climate so that you can get and have a very positive educational experience. And that's free of disruptions, that's free of distractions, so that you're in a safe learning environment. And I'm going to protect that. And in turn, the children were able to internalize and see that. And that turned into, what? This man really does love us. He's creating this ecosystem around us for us to be successful. And so that's what I admired most about the fact that they loved him when he went through the whole process of being arrested and the kids, banding together in unity to cheer him on and support him. And I said, you know what? I want to impact children that way.
Yeah.
The masses, not just in a classroom as a teacher, but in an entire building. And so I was inspired then, to seek leadership and, became an assistant principal and again, really had no immediate aspirations on being a principal. But, just as well as when you see your colleagues or your equals becoming assistant principals and principals, you're like, man, please, I can do that. I'm just as good as she is. And so, when a colleague of mine, a friend of mine became a principal, I was like, okay, well, maybe I am ready.
Absolutely.
And so, one thing led to another, man. It just became a principal and, had some success there. And one thing led to another. I've always allowed for my work to create opportunities for me. I never really, I was never one that every time a job came available, I would apply. I never did.
Yeah.
Opportunities found me. And that's what I truly believe.
I love that.
Do the work. Those opportunities are going to create themselves and they're going to find you because just as well as I do.
Yes, sir.
There's some people out there that apply for every vacancy that they see. And I would always tell people, if no one significant has reached out to you and told you to apply, then you might not need to apply for it, because it's not just about, anybody can apply for the position.
That's true.
But there are a lot of other things that's going to be required to get you to the table.
That is so true.
And so your application amongst hundreds really does not mean anything. Your resume amongst hundreds doesn't mean it. Can someone vouch and speak to your body of work?
Wow.
And if there's no one internally that can speak to your body of work or can vouch for you as an internal or an external candidate, then you're just another person with a very, very decorative and creative resume.
That's so true.
And so, that's why I always share with people, the best way to progress oftentimes is either internally or within your district, because you've worked there for a number of years and people can speak to your work.
Yeah.
And if you do decide to, and there are opportunities that you can be just as successful outside of the district, but your chances are better within your district. And I always tell people that, people, friends of friends, connect me with people outside of, the district, and they're encouraged to contact me, and they're aspiring to become a part of this district. And I ask them simply and bluntly, why haven't you been promoted in your own district?
Wow. That's powerful.
Because it's a question that I have to ask, because I see all that you've done and all that you're doing. You mean your district doesn't value what you've done and your body of work and your obvious success, that you should be promoted? So I need to know the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's powerful, Doc.
And so,
that's real.
and then just one thing, one opportunity created another. I ended up becoming a regional superintendent, and was appointed to that position, and then. Again, relationships. I don't know if you probably don't
Dr.
remember.
Beasley.
Dr. Beasley, right.
Yeah.
He came to Clayton, and, it was an opportunity there. And, I applied for that position, and I felt that I could lead, I could take another step up and lead in another capacity. And so I was like, you know what, that would be a good fit, and so that's how I landed here.
Right. Yeah. And that's how you're going to be a superintendent one day. Somebody's going to come. Somebody gonna be like, look, Doc, we seen your body of work, like you said, and we need you. So that's what's up. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people that are watching us right now. They're like, how do I get where Dr. Simpson is right now? And now he's a deputy superintendent. But it sounds to me like you're saying two things. First of all, demand excellence of yourself and your work, so that people notice your body of work will speak for itself. But also grow where you're planted. If you're planted in fill in the blank school district, grow right there.
That's exactly right. And don't be afraid and or run from difficult situations.
Ooh.
And not willing to work with difficult people. I had an experience years ago as an assistant principal, and it was working with one of what was deemed then, I would say, probably one of the most unliked or not well liked, administrators.
Okay.
And I had no problem. I wanted to work for her.
Okay.
Because in my mind, I wanted to prove to people that I could work with someone that was deemed difficult to work with.
Okay.
Two, I felt like it was something that I could learn from that person, which I believe is something that you can learn from everyone. It's important to be able to take, there are nuggets that you can glean from and take away from every plate. I'm a firm believer of that. It provided me an opportunity to see some things or observe some things that, I wouldn't do that if I were the principal. But there were a lot of things that I observed that I would do. And so it was a learning experience in a lot of ways, because of how I was able to see this person interact with individuals and relationships. And this person wasn't a great relationship person, more of a managerial, supervisory type leader.
Right.
But I was able to take those and what I had observed and learned and add those to my tool belt, and then enhance what it was that I felt like I needed to grow and be more effective. And so more than anything, I had displayed to others in decision-making roles that you could essentially send me anywhere and I can work in any environment or with anybody.
Absolutely.
But just as well as I know, today people don't get along and they put in for a transfer. I'll tell you, the other assistant principals that were working with me in that building, all of them had more experience than me. All of them put in for transfers.
Wow.
Ultimately, they got transfers, which put me in the driver's seat as the most experienced assistant principal. So when this person decided to retire, then I was the next person up.
Wow.
One of those three, it took 8 years for that person to become a principal.
Wow.
After that transfer.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, Doc, you dropping these golden nuggets 100%. No, that's super powerful. I think, especially in this day and age, I just feel like there's that, instead of fight, we're going to flight,
That's right.
we're
That's
going to
right.
get out of
That's
here.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's not good. You're right. I think it doesn't, lend itself because I'll be honest, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Like these jobs are tough, like,
That's right.
and when you're in these decision-making positions, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be a bed of roses and it
That's
is
right.
going to be tough and you are going to have to make tough calls. And, I like what you said as well about working with that individual. Like sometimes those lessons are just as important on what not to do.
That's exactly right. And you need to see that. There's no other way. I was sharing with a young principal. He's just gotten promoted. I'm mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oftentimes, when a new principal comes on board, they, sometimes are given the option of whether they want to keep their administrative staff, the assistant
Okay.
principals. In this school, it has some challenges, and there were some concerns about the assistant principals.
Mm-hmm.
He ultimately made the decision that he wanted to keep them, and
Okay.
I asked him why. He said he wanted a chance to see if he could help to better grow and build them and becoming more successful and effective leaders. And I said, I'm going to tell you what the message that you're sending by making that decision
Mm-hmm.
is a brand new principle. You're sending a message to us at the executive leadership level that you have one, the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude to say, I'm going to take what might appear to be lemons and make lemonade.
Wow.
I'm going to make my mess my message, is what you're saying. And
Okay.
so even though you are a rookie, a first year principal, you
Yeah.
are willing to take what has been appearing to be a problematic situation with your leadership staff or your leadership team. But you believe wholeheartedly and internally that you can mold this into something and be very, very successful.
Wow.
I said that speaks volumes about who
Absolutely.
you are as an individual. It
Absolutely.
speaks volumes about who you are as a leader. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we typically don't see and expect from a first year principal.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So, Doc, I know that you obviously are in your role as a senior leader in Clayton. Do you actually mentor people outside of Clayton County?
And I mentor people all over the world.
Okay. Okay.
I've not told anyone no who've asked me to be their mentor. I've never said no. I don't really know how to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
and I believe that if I view it as an honor, truly.
Mm-hmm.
If someone thinks that much of me, that they're chosen me to mentor them.
Right.
I can't take any of this with me.
Sure.
I've got to share it. If whatever it is that I have that I can help to make people better, because I'm a firm believer of this.
Mm-hmm.
We live in the era of, and we're truly measured on academic achievement. I know that.
Sure.
But I'm a firm believer that in order to get better scores, you got to make people better.
That's real.
Making people better is the marathon. Getting better scores is the sprint.
Oh, wow.
If we pour more into getting people better, then the scores are going to come. But I know politically that is not, a superintendent doesn't have time. Superintendents have sprints. They don't have marathons. And so, if a superintendent, one of the goals as soon as they accept the job is increasing academic achievement. Well, we know that. And oftentimes, if it doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years, which you and I know that is not sanely possible,
No.
then that person is gone. And then you bring in a new person in and they start the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I want people to see me, children particularly, that matriculate from any high school in 5, 10 years, 15 years from now, to say, hey, look, man, I remember you were my principal and I remember what you did for me. They're not going to recall what the graduation rate was. They're not going to recall what the school grade was.
Yeah.
They're going to remember what we did for them.
Yes. Yes.
What is it that we did for them that has positioned them to be able to maintain a standard of living that they don't have to worry about?
Yes.
Any and everything that can negatively impact them.
Yeah.
And so the children that are not, they're not concerned with the level of academic success and achievement of a school once they leave it.
That's true.
It's what we have instilled in them and instilled and inspired that confidence in them with the ability to go out and navigate through their challenges and be successful.
Yeah.
And so thusly, over the last 7 to 8 years, I've probably become more on the social services side.
Okay.
I believe you have to reach before you teach. If you don't build and maintain a relationship that's based on genuine love, care, and concern, then you can't teach me. I don't care how good of a teacher or great of a teacher you are.
Yeah.
These children today, they have to know that you care about them.
100%.
And if you don't get that done, and if you don't create that, I asked the teachers here, I said, we have lesson plans. Do you have a relationship plan?
Ooh.
A relationship plan for every child in your class, your homeroom students, or and what that does is that tells you any and everything about that child. You know who they are.
That's powerful.
And so that's going to allow for you to be able to speak to whatever challenges that they have. And I've asked teachers, hey, start every day asking this one question. Who's ready to learn and who's not ready to learn? If you're not ready to learn, raise your hand.
Wow.
If one child raises their hand, step outside the door. And you don't close the door behind you. You kind of maintain your presence, and you can see the other students while you're monitoring and observing them. Hey, what's going on? You got to have that 1 or 2 minute conversation with that child, because if not, you might not be able to teach your class because of that child, or that child might not be able to function in the rest of their classes for the rest of that day. So over the last 7, 8 years, social emotional learning is very, very big to me.
Okay.
About 7 to 8 years ago, I became internationally certified in restorative practices and restorative justice.
Okay.
Trauma-informed care, I have a certification in now. I led the school district in the social emotional learning implementation. Okay. And then, just recently, from in the whole DEI space, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I bottled all of those things together because I believe it's important. Schools, when I speak about the ability and the importance of being able to reach before you teach, I believe those tools in a belt that you can pull out anytime that you have and meet a challenge with a child that will address. Because if you know what trauma looks like when it comes into your classroom, then you won't internalize that as a discipline problem, called the assistant principal who doesn't recognize what a trauma or traumatic experience has caused this child to misbehave. Looks like. Then you end up suspending the child, and all we're dealing with is a mental health or mental illness issue or a traumatic event that has taken place at home or in the community that previous day. So we have to be trauma informed so that we know what it looks like.
I love that. That's powerful.
So that's the reinvention over the last 7, 8 years that has connected me to the work now, because I believe that our level of academic achievement and academic success is making people better. And if we don't invest into that, then we're going to continue to get what we're getting.
Wow. Super powerful, Doc. Wow. That's amazing. And it's so needed. Do you go to other districts and present on this?
I do. One call. Yeah. That's going to be my next job when I retire.
Oh, I can see that. 100%. I mean, I can see it. It's from the heart. I can absolutely see it. And it's so needed, particularly in our inner city communities, right? Like, I mean, so many things happen to our students before they even hit our door. And you're right. I think sometimes we're just reacting as opposed to being proactive. And I love that idea, what you said about just, you got to connect with those kids. What you call it, a relationship plan?
A relationship
plan. That, Doc. I love that.
Yes, sir.
I already
have a copy of one, man. I can send you to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good, man. This is really good. This is great, man. Look, we could talk another 30 minutes, but I will tell you, I'm super grateful that you've shared with our listeners and our viewers what you've shared today. And I definitely, if it's okay with you, I'd love to have you come on the show again at some point.
Hey, anytime.
Yeah, this has been awesome, man. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I also want to honor you. You've done over 36 years and probably even close to 40 when you consider the work you did as a correction officer before you became an educator. But I want to honor you for all the work you've done in helping young people, mainly in the Atlanta area. And it's people like you that just make all the difference in the world. And long after you leave this earth, are going to still have an impact. So I just want to honor you for all the great work you've done as a K-12 teacher, as a K-12 leader, at the school level, at the district level, and the impact you've had on, leaders like myself. I'm just so grateful that I even know you, and definitely going to continue to connect with you and have you as my mentor again. And I'm just super grateful that we reconnected. But before you leave, Doc, can you just please share some parting words of wisdom? You shared a lot of wisdom so far today, but can you share some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, well, I'm on social media, but I probably don't use it as much as I use social media to, for information more so than promoting, who
Sure.
I am or what I do. I've just been a firm believer in this space that, we have a responsibility. And it's a quote that resonates with me, and I'll share it with you.
Okay.
That it's the responsibility of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious of its unconscious behavior. I'm gonna say that again. It's the responsibility of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious of its unconscious behavior. And I'm going to break it down for you. It's the responsibility for those that know to help those that don't know realize they don't even know. We have a responsibility, and I don't take this for granted.
Okay.
Although I'm at the executive level, my days of touching children, being in a schoolhouse with them every single day, that is when you make the biggest impact on children and the lives of children.
Right.
Now I'm making decisions that will impact those lives, those principals, those teachers that I hope to instill and inspire the confidence in.
Yeah.
If this is not what you want to do, if you don't love doing this, then walk away from it, because what a child can ill afford to have, particularly in low income communities,
Sure.
is a teacher who doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
They can ill afford to have an ineffective teacher.
Yes.
They're already up against the challenges.
Mm.
Everything else has to work for them in order for them to completely change the trajectory of their life.
Yes.
All of that, their K-12 experience has to align and be aligned with great people.
Yes.
And so for those that are truly in it, in it to win it, and I know it becomes a challenge.
Yes.
I only ask that people figure out a way how they can continue to sustain their mental and physical well-being so that they can be armed and equipped to do this work.
Absolutely.
Because there are some things out there that will help you. I discussed them as example in those tools.
Yes.
You need these tools in order to survive today.
Absolutely.
Because the love that you give, I hope and expect that you are able to have enough gas in that tank when you get home and give that same love to your husband, to your spouse, to your mother, to your father, and all of those individuals that need that love. It is truly about pacing yourself, being aware of where you are in terms of when that tank is low. That conversation on the way home with another colleague and talking about your day.
Yeah.
That's a social emotional learning moment.
Sure.
Those moments on figuring out and having an opportunity to talk about the feel. How does it feel? Because we have to spend time in that space and talking about how does it feel? How do you feel today?
Yes.
And that can be done just by having that real quick conversation at that SEL moment.
Yes.
And then, hey, sometimes you might be able to have a neat little SEL on the go when we come back from recess, when you get back from PE.
Yeah.
And that can be, hey, what's your favorite candy bar? That can lead to a totally different conversation.
Sure.
What was your favorite song when you were in high school? And so I just think it's important that we bring the feel back into this. And so for those that might be listening and those that are in this K-12 space, this again, not a sprint. I believe there's a special place in heaven for educators. I do. I believe that. And because of what you're giving, because of what you're pouring into, the reward is certainly impacting the lives that you have. People say, well, the money, listen, chase the dream and not the dollar. Because if you capture the dream, the dollar's going to come.
Love it. That's a mic drop moment right there, Doc. Wow. So good. So good. So good. Oh, my God. Thank you so much, Dr. Simpson, for coming on the show. You have definitely warmed my heart, and I know it's going to warm the hearts of everybody that's watching us today. I really appreciate, just sharing so many words of wisdom.
Sure.
And it's just amazing. Like I said, I met you 2004, and here it is almost 20 years later. And I didn't even know it was possible. Like, you're even more amazing today than you were even then.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate you coming on the show. And definitely I want to keep in touch with you. Definitely want to have you back on the show. And I definitely wish you all the best, my brother.
Same to you, sir. Same to you.
Take care. Thank you so much.